Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back
Yo, how's it
to
going,
whatever this
man?
is.
Are we sticking with that
Uh,
name?
I don't know. That's what I titled the first episode on YouTube. When did we record the first episode? Do you remember?
Oh, it's been like a month, I feel like. I don't even know. It's been hard with life going crazy.
Yeah, I mean, right after we recorded the episode, I had to go to India. So, and then when I came back, life just got in the way again. That's why
Yeah,
I'm
same for
uploading
me.
video now.
I didn't go to India, but I was traveling a lot. I feel like this wedding season has finally come to a halt, at least for me. Hopefully. I have a couple more, but I'm probably not going to go. It's insane. Everyone wants to get married.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time, right?
I think post COVID, people had a reevaluation of their entire lives.
But you only have like a month off. Then you gotta come to Dubai.
Yeah, I know. And I'm traveling to Dubai for another wedding. So I guess not. The wedding season is not over. Oh, God.
Bro, that wedding's a week, by the way. Good luck with
I
that.
know. I'm getting nervous. Like, work is getting harder and like life is getting busier. And for some reason, my motivation is even dropping lower as each day goes on.
At at work or for this podcast? Or in general?
In general, just like, I don't know. It's weird. Like, I wake up every day and I have this like spurt of like anxiety for like what I'm going to be doing. And then it's like this dread because I know I have to do a lot, but for some reason I don't have the energy to. And I wouldn't even equate that to lack of sleep or I don't know what's going on. I think I just have low motivation. I just don't feel like, and I think I've been thinking about it a lot. I feel like it's because either my work is not aligned with who I am, or I just got in I would say the gratification of what I was doing before, and now that it's happening, that since that dopamine kind of went through me, I don't feel like it's not as exciting anymore. Can you relate?
Uh, I don't really. I've heard this a lot. Uh, just today, like I saw a YouTube video on my uh, recommended page called. It was titled something like "Delaying Gratification Will 10 times Your Life." But like I don't know what like delaying gratification means exactly.
Hmm. I mean, yeah. See, those terms have been used a lot in my life too, and I think I think delayed gratification technically means that you hold off on doing something in order to get a greater return later on. But the way I'm talking about, the way I would feel delayed gratification applies to me, and I feel like it could apply to a lot of people. Is I think when you set out to do something, I think in your mind you should also have the mindset that this is going to be a long journey, or this is going to be a journey. And I think when we start a project, like when you started your podcast, or when you started thinking about the podcast, how excited were you?
Bro, don't even ask me. I was like, okay, I wasn't excited. I wasn't nervous either. I was just like, I was motivated to do a lot of things, but then
Right?
I didn't realize how much work it would actually be juggling a full time job with uh, family and friends responsibilities, with podcasting, with editing. A lot goes into this, which I did not foresee when I was like starting this. It's crazy.
So how do you say you feel now in comparison to how you felt right before you started your podcast?
It's made me like at times. It's made me rethink that if this is even worth it, or like, am I doing the right thing? Where are the results? You get impatient. I'm getting antsy. I'm like, I'm investing hours of my week recording, thinking about video ideas, editing, making little silly TikToks. Uh, but like, I'm not seeing anything. I'm not. It's hard to explain, but like, I'm not seeing the results exactly. I'm not seeing any growth, even though like likes are coming, getting 1, 2 followers here and there. But it's not like something I wanted. I pictured that would be happening. Uh,
So would you
alongside the
say
work, alongside
Would you s-
the work is a lot.
it works a lot, and
Yeah.
would you say that in comparison, how do you think your motivation has dropped slightly, or has it become altered, or is it still the same?
Yeah. So after coming back from India, I was going through some health and mental issues, which I'll probably talk about later. But like,
Yeah.
it was coupling the fact that I was getting demotivated surely, purely because of the work that's needed after you record the episode. Because there's a lot that goes into post producing it, creating thumbnails for YouTube. Then, if I wanna, because what I've realized is being a podcast or like a content creator is not just making the video and then uploading it. Like, you have to be like a distributor of your own self. So, like, how you decide to chop it up, how you decide to edit after recording, where you're going to post, if that post is going to be relevant towards the social platform. Like, for example, I've been re uploading my TikToks on my Twitter, but they don't hit the same as like regular 100-character tweets. So I have to re strategize like how I'm using Twitter and how I can reposition my videos to get better results on Twitter. So just researching a lot about like how platforms work, what kind of videos hit. LinkedIn, for example, LinkedIn is more of a professional like platform. So when I talk about One Piece, I definitely cannot upload my One Piece stuff on LinkedIn. Otherwise, like
Shout out
it,
anime. Got my Naruto shirt on. Just wanted to chime in.
I was wondering what you were. Is it art,
Yeah, dude, I love this shirt. It's so nice. It has all my favorite characters, which is everyone.
bro? Does
Except for
Hassan have the
Sakura. I
same
hate
thing?
Sakura. What's up?
Does Hassan have the same shirt? I saw him. I saw it on his video.
Yeah, Ali Akbar bought shirts for all four of us. Oh, dude, I should have. I had this. I bought this little cute little Naruto keychain thing too. I just felt like a little kid. It's like a mystery box, and you pick it out, and you see what you got. And I got like the Nine Tails from Naruto. So I'm like, yeah,
Oh, that's sick, bro. Why do you hate
right?
Sakura? Just because she curved Naruto?
No, dude. Okay, bro, that's a whole other podcast, and I think everyone can relate to that. Okay, she just whines so much and is so fake and so surface level, and I just think the creators did not do her justice, or either they meant for her to be like play a certain type of role, but for being a main character, not having she had some growth, but there wasn't that much depth. But we're digressing from the main topic. So back to your One Piece on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So like that that kind of stuff won't work on LinkedIn. And like I noticed right now, like when I posted the YouTube link for our last episode, it wasn't like a episode about startups or like founders or like industries. Like the first two episodes I posted on LinkedIn, the engagement was a lot more because I had mentioned like startups and entrepreneurship and industries, Amazon, like all these. I guess there are like keywords that
Buzzwords.
hit the algorithm as well. Yeah,
For
and I didn't
buzzwords,
hit
yeah.
any of them
People
in the caption or text or video, which is why I think the last one probably got suppressed, and or people didn't share it because people go to LinkedIn either to look for a job or to look for professional content.
Yeah, so in summation, what I feel like you're saying is that you started this project with a lot of excitement and a lot of motivation, and after starting the journey, not seeing the results, you feel like your motivation slightly has probably waned. Maybe you're not feeling as hyped about it, and you even started questioning a little bit of why you even started in the first place. Would that be correct?
I, I still question it, like
You
even
still
today,
question
like
it, and
it's
I
not
think
something that's gonna go.
I can severely relate to that. I think a lot of us, and probably those of you listening, and if you do, please put down in comments or wherever you can, like your own account. But I think that is a big theme in my life as well. And at first, I used to equate that with laziness. I'm like, oh, I'm just lazy. Like, I have all these ideas, but I don't pull through with it. And there might be some truth to that, right? There might be like 10%, 5 to 10% truth to make maybe me being a little bit lazy. But I think the majority of it, which people don't realize, is one, when you're doing something, it's okay to do something and then not want to do it anymore, right? Because when you're doing it, you start realizing, is this really aligning with what I originally intended? Or is this really aligning with me? Is this working with me, my schedule? Is this making me feel worse or happier? Right? That's one part of it. And if you stop, that's okay, right? You try something and stop, it's okay. The whole point of it is to try something, right? The first thing is to actually start. So you're already in the green right there by starting it. But then the second part of it is to filter out the doubts that are probably not as, I would say, real in terms of what's going on in terms of actual motivation. And I think the problem is that people, especially me, when I start something, I have this motivation, this I'm really excited, I feel really productive, and I start it, and I get the first one done, and I feel like, oh, this is great, like, and you know what? My dopamine levels go high. I feel satisfied. But then what happens for the next one? I'm like, oh crap! Like the first one was great. How do I get that same feeling from this one as I did from the first one? Right? Where do I get that gratification? And that's not there as much anymore. If it was there, that's great. But I feel like gratification in itself, the essence of itself, or maybe the instant gratification I got from it, is not meant to be long term. And I hope it's making sense to you. Am I making sense right now?
It's like, I mean, I guess you can't equate it to like substance abuse one to one, but like the
But yeah,
first
I
hit you
mean,
get from weed, like it just like,
exactly.
but it's not the same actually, because the tolerance increases and then it just gets harder and harder to get that same high
Well, it's
unless
kind
you
of like
don't really.
relationships. Kind of like relationships. You meet a new person, meet a maybe possibly like the love of your life, and the first couple of months are great. It's honeymoon phase, and after that, it's not like the honeymoon phase is gone. But I think the idea of honeymoon phase itself is bad, right? Because you have this phase where you're all happy and you're cute and you love each other, and every time you mess each other and call each other, see each other, it's this hit of dopamine. You feel really satisfied and you feel really happy. But then what happens later on is once you guys get used to each other, you realize all the cute stuff has kind of leveled out with all the real stuff. The real stuff starts popping up, the hard parts, the things that you don't really anticipate, but that are inevitable and are good because you need to have real things come up in your relationships or it won't be as strong. And I think once that happens, you start to question, you start to think. And I think that also relates to your podcast journey. And I'll give a couple of examples for myself. The once things start getting hard, are not everything is aligning in your picture perfect way of how you envisioned it, then the motivation starts to lag because you already kind of came into it thinking you're going to have that same type of excitement and motivation as you did from the beginning. But I think that's a wrong expectation. I think that's what I'm really trying to hone in on here. And I think maybe a lot of people can relate is when they're starting a new endeavor, they're always focused on that starting it, which is great. You should start it, but they don't focus on the sustainable long term mindset you should have, which is, I know I'm going to probably hate this sometimes, but and I know that in reaching my goal, there's going to be a lot of setbacks, and I probably won't feel the same way, and it's okay that I don't. And I think as you're doing, you should reevaluate, but you should also focus on the idea that it's not about even the end point, right? Eventually, you should focus on falling in love with the journey of it. I think that is the most sustainable thing. And if you can't possibly fall in love with the journey of it, then I feel like it's not good for you. I feel like it's not aligned with what you should do. And then you should maybe adjust or do something else. But if you can see yourself, if you haven't even tried loving the journey or even thought about the journey as something to love, then I feel like you haven't given it your all. And I think then you should put in perspective why your motivation is dropping. And that's okay. And I think in that case, maybe motivation comes back up a little bit. That's just my whole theory. That's what I've been thinking about for a long time. I'll give a couple examples.
Bro, that's such a fine line, by the way. Like, how do you know you're giving it your all before giving up, right? Like,
Yeah,
how do you like? It's just impossible to know unless you like. I'm trying to think in my life as well, because like I I got a business degree, and I took a few data classes, which made me fall into business analytics and IT. But like towards the end of senior year, I'm like, this is not for me. I and then afterwards, even after graduation, I like tried to take some data courses again just to freshen up on Coursera, Udemy. I couldn't even get past like the first lecture, like without falling asleep or getting bored or like procrastinating in between the classes, right? So
And why do you think so?
It just wasn't engaging to me. Like when I first started
Okay.
it felt like okay, it's a little bit like coding, like solving a puzzle. But then it just I don't know. I didn't like the process, right? Like
You know,
I don't know how to
that's how I
explain
feel.
it. Maybe maybe I found the work a little more monotonous and less creative in a way. But you could make it creative as well with dashboards and Tableau and like all that stuff. So it's that's not an excuse either, you know. But like
I
in my
think,
heart, at least, I feel like I tried my best with it during undergrad and then afterwards trying to get a job. I, I remember like when I was at your house.
yeah, I remember
Um,
that you were sitting at my dining table trying to focus on Tableau, and I'm like, okay, it's pretty
no,
cool.
I wasn't even talking about that. Like that was one thing because like one of our family friends asked me to do Tableau so that he could try referring me for a job, but I couldn't even do that much for that job.
Hmm.
But like one of your dad's friends, I think I forgot her name. She has like an IT recruitment firm in Jersey, in Chicago or something, or
Okay.
Detroit. And like I got her number, I called her, and like the first thing I said was that I'm not the best at coding. I don't understand Java, but XYZ. And then your dad just yelled at me for like a good hour because like that's not how you sell yourself when you're trying to get a job. Like when you're gonna introduce yourself as someone, you're gonna say like, I know Python, I know R, I can create Facebook again. Like you know, like so not enjoying the process also has to do with your confidence in that field. And I wasn't feeling that confident to begin with.
Yeah, I
That's why
think
I
you hit
was
on a lot of key things there, and those can even itself dive into other topics, right? Like confidence coming in and faking it till you make it versus trying. Like there's a lot of things that we can talk about there, but I think the key points I want to bring up is you're right. Like you should have some confidence. But at the same time, you also said something important. You said that I think I gave it my all, my heart, and then I decided that it wasn't really working out for me. I think that's really important, right? At the end of the day, I think there's a really big gray area, right? Like, I am a very self-critical person, so no matter how, I don't believe in giving up, and that may sound good, like never give up, like believe it,
I will be Hokage.
right? Naruto wants to be Hokage, but this man is down for every single up and down. This man doesn't change. His determination stays there, and yeah, like he keeps saying, "I won't do this until I'm Hokage. I won't do this until I'm Hokage." But never once in the show does he ever doubt, and never once does he stop. I feel like his work ethic just goes up and up and up and up because because what the show kind of doesn't directly highlight, but indirectly highlights for like the true fans is this man was found a goal, was determined, kept on repeating it, was manifesting it until it became true, right? He became one of the greatest Hokages. But at the same time, what they didn't really focus on, was really what you should have picked up is how he loves to train. Non-stop, all this man is doing is training. Every chance he gets, he's training. And he's training for long hours by himself. He loves the grind. I think about like Kobe. I think about what I often think about what differentiates you from being one of the greats and from being really good. Like what really differentiates the greats, right? And if your goal coming into something is being one of the greatest, I think that's a very delicate thing to do, right? I think you should have a very mature mindset. You want to be the greatest, good. You should have the confidence for it, good. You should have those two things. But I think at the same time, you should have the realization of reality, which is I can't be the greatest if I'm focused on being better than everyone else. I have to focus on being better than what I was before. And in order to be better than what I was before, I need to fall in love with the grind, the journey, and challenge myself. And if I love the grind and journey more than anyone else, then truly I have the potential to be the greatest. And I think the same thing goes for anything we do. All the greats you see out there, they're all authentic. Now, after a while, yeah, they get a little fake, a little like basic stuff in that because they reach a certain level, then they have to innovate more. But even getting to that point of being considered one of the greatest, reaching that bracket requires you to fall in love with the grind, fall in love with what you're doing, fall in love with the journey, not focusing on the destination. Because not everything will Not everything you do during the journey will directly lead to your destination, right? And depending on how much you wane off the path, how different it is from the destination, you can determine whether it's good or not. But I think overall, we tend to psych ourselves out, like, oh, I'm not getting enough views. Oh, I'm not learning as much. Oh, I'm not getting. I don't see how this is gonna help me become X, Y, Z. But I can give an example of, like, I said Kobe, right? Kobe loved the grind. This man was in the locker, was in the gym, in the on the courts practicing 5 hours before people even came. His teammates came for practice. He loved the grind that much, and that showed. Steve Jobs, this man. When I was reading his book, and this guy is crazy, right? Like, he dropped out of college. He was taking different courses. He took a course on calligraphy and cursive writing. And
Yeah,
what did
that
that
got me.
lead to? That led to all the fonts in Mac and like iPhone and all that stuff. And his focus on, he took a lot of design classes. Focus on design allowed the iPhone to be what it is, right? And he wasn't. I don't think he ever set out to create the iPhone from day one. I think that was a culmination of his journey, where he knew he wanted to do something different. That's why he dropped out of college, right? But his journey and the bits and pieces came together and helped him get something else. And he became one of the greats because he fell in love with the grind of and the details and all that stuff. And that was it, and came to fruition with the iPhone. So I feel like in the same way for all of our journeys, and it's so hard. It's so easy said and done, right? I'm working at a biotech startup, one of the coolest places. When I talk about it, people are like, "How is that even possible?" And even when I say it, I get excited for like half a second, but then I remember the reality of it, which is, bro, this shit's hard. It's hard. It's long. It's a lot of researching, and I'm thinking, does this really align with me? Why am I not feeling happy? Why am I not motivated? One, I'm not in love with the journey.
At one point, this was a dream, right? Like I remember in college, you were like, "I'm a BME. I want to
Yeah,
get into this like 3D printing parts of your body and stuff." I remember that much then. So like, what's happening now? Like,
yeah. Like, and just to keep it short, like, I love 3D printing, right? And even when I started my research, which led to this job, and I remember even when I was saying that, dude, I didn't believe it, but I was manifesting it, right? So I was confident and I was manifesting it. Even though I didn't truly, truly believe that I can get there, I was saying it enough where even though my first job wasn't that role, I manifested that role. I think we should talk about another day how I on manifestation, because I always tell people me getting this role was truly just the universe and God's work, because
yeah,
it wasn't that I wasn't qualified for it, but more like, how did they found me, a biotech startup in New York City, like a perfect scenario, found me, and they're 3D printing human body parts and tissue engineering and all the things I talked about in college, which I didn't even know existed. And they gave me a chance. And they gave me a chance in a role that I wanted to be a part of, which is research and design. So I'm living the life that I thought I wanted to be living. But as soon as I got that job, dude, I felt so great, man. I felt for that first month, being before starting the job and then during the job, I felt great. I was like, this is great. I'm on my path. Like, this is it. This is it. A year and a half now, and I'm like back to almost square one, which is like, I'm not motivated. Like, I don't feel like I'm giving it my all. And I'm getting stressed out because I'm working on really niche things. And I'm like, how is this going to translate to my next goal? Because I'm already focused on my next goal, which isn't a bad thing. But I feel like I already got the satisfaction, the gratification from getting this role. And now I'm already moving on to the next. But in order to move on to the next, I have to do the bulk of the journey. And that bulk of the journey, I have left zero motivation for it because I never planned for it. I never thought about it that way. And now I'm trying to reset my mindset, realign my mindset. It needs to happen every day, right? To kind of retrain and trick my mind into loving the journey, because I know that is more sustainable than me getting satisfaction from just starting it and getting the job and then before even doing it. If that makes sense.
how do you? I guess there are ways to trick your brain into really loving it by like giving yourself like a mini reward every time you achieve something.
Yeah,
I've
right.
seen this happen. I've seen this happen a lot in like fitness, right? Like if you're gonna lose weight, you start your cut for like 8 weeks. After 4 weeks, if you lose some weight, you're entitled to like have a cheat meal or like have a burger because you earned
I
it.
think, and I think you hit on another key point that I even forgot, which is like people like us who are very, like dedicated and highly critical of ourselves, at the same time, we don't allow ourselves the small wins because we're so focused on that big win, right? But that big win, the reality of it is not sustainable. I actually, dude, I was watching. You know, what's perfect? Last night, I was watching this, and I want to maybe link that speech to this. It gives a perfect example. Like this guy who's valedictorian.
Just send me the link. I'll put it in the
Yeah,
description
yeah.
somewhere.
This guy who got valedictorian of his high school, he was standing up there giving a speech, and he's like, you know, when I found out I was in running for this goal for the valedictorian, I put in my all. Like I grinded for school, and I got here. You know, and I loved it. I was so happy for about the 15 seconds that they announced my name and I came walked up to the stage. But now, as I'm on the stage, and maybe I'm butchering it a little bit, but the point of what he was saying is now I'm on the stage, I'm starting to realize all the moments I missed out on and all those things. And this slightly differs from our topic we're talking about, but I think it also matters too, right? He was so focused on the goal and thinking that this goal is going to bring him happiness that he's already unsatisfied within 15 seconds, maybe like an hour, maybe a day. But that is not sustainable, man. We're living a long life, inshallah, like hopefully. And in order to really be content, because I think everyone wants that, right? Everyone wants contentment. Everyone wants to be happy all the time, which is hard. Even happy itself is I feel like a fleeting gratification. I think it said you should be thankful
Neutral.
and show gratitude nonstop. I think that's sustainable. Regardless of the situation, you show you're thankful for what's going on because it could be worse, and you know you're gonna get there. But you know that you're human and things are gonna go up and down. But keeping that gratification constant, I think, is key. And getting back to that guy, he just said like, yeah, I missed out on all these memories. I didn't give enough time to my relationships, and his whole focus was relationships are the most important thing in in anyone's life, which I agree with for sure. But I think what I got out of it was you focus so much on a journey, be ready to lose that happiness and gratification immediately, and don't think that that is the epitome of your goal. The actual achievement is not the goal. Achievement is staying motivated and completing the goal by doing A through Z. That A through Z is the true achievement, right? That entire journey. That's like 90% of all the work. That 10% at the end is a little cherry on top. But that cherry on top doesn't mean that you have the whole ice cream. The whole ice cream, it's all the work you put in. And if you really appreciate that and you fell in love with that, then you're able to replicate that for the next goal you have. I feel like. And throughout that, you're staying happier. If you're staying happier, staying more gratified, then you show more gratification, showing more gratitude. Then you're more motivated. You keep going. It's like a positive loop cycle instead of this negative loop cycle. That makes sense as well. I'm gonna stop lecturing. I feel like I'm going off on a tangent, but let me know if anything I'm saying is making sense. This is how I've been feeling for a long time, and I feel like a lot of people can relate too. That don't even realize it.
There's so many. Uh, like this is a challenge of like podcasting too, right? Like you go on a mini rant, and then when I think about your rant, like there's so many things you can like
Yeah,
branch out of, but like there's like you don't get much time to like really flesh out the ideas because like I don't want to make this like an hour podcast for
yeah. No, we're
people
gonna try
who
to keep
don't
this
have the time.
short, and I definitely feel like
But
we're
like
hitting our mark pretty soon.
this, like that, the valedictorian brings up a good point. Like I feel like whenever you get motivated to start a new project or a new goal, the first thing that you tend to cut out is like your social life and your relationships because that's the thing that takes most time out of your week. Like Friday night, Saturday night, those are like you could say 6 to 8 hours which you could be spending working on your project, your next thing, your whatever.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's just I guess it's very personal. Like you have to find your balance. If you're not, if you feel overworked, and if you feel like you deserve like a Saturday night out with the boys, then just take it. Like I don't think anyone's
Yeah,
gonna
man.
judge you for that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's only you versus yourself. Don't worry about anyone else. As long as you're, I think the main thing is everything you set out to do. I think you should intentionally think about, is this action aligned with who I am, me long term, me short term, which may be hard. I think that requires a lot of practice, but I've been trying to put that into like everything I do. I want to make sure that it has a reason behind it. I'm not just doing it for the sake of doing it. Like this podcast, right? I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty hard for both of us to schedule this in. We're both on different sides of the globe, right? But this is important because I know long term, and even right now, even though this is not as exciting for me as I would like, I do really appreciate it, and it is aligned with me long term. Speaking about these topics, getting it out there, hearing feedback, hearing having people engage with what I think, and vice versa. And doing a podcast has always been a goal of mine. So I'm going to take the small wins when I can, which is for me, for us the small win could have been a lot of views, a lot of traction, but for me the small win is yeah, they've got this done. And if someone sees it, someone sees it. If someone doesn't see it, doesn't see it. But we're actually putting in the work, and I'm going to manifest that these type of our clips, our podcast especially, is going to get more and more traction, and people are going to relate to it more, and it's going to get better and better as time goes on because we're going to keep going at it, inshallah.
Dude, another mindset I've had is that okay, I mean, like I guess you know this, but like I've been following Gary Vee for like years now, like
I love the guy. Most
since
amazing guy.
undergrad,
Thank
since
you
bachelor's.
for introducing him to me, by the way, because this
Yeah,
guy circulates in my head too all the time. I love how he's just so direct and just says anything he wants, but he has a good point behind it. He
yeah,
cuts all
and
the
one of the
BS.
things he says is that like another reason why he creates all these videos and content and podcasts, whatever, is so that his grandkids or his great grandkids can have like a mark of what their grandfather or great grandfather was, or like what he thought about in this time period of his life. And if those people, the next generation is going through that time, then maybe they can look back and relate. Because like I know that uh, at least for us, like our maternal grandfather, his dad used to do some kind of journaling. So we have like a trace of like
Oh, I
our
actually didn't know
family
that.
tree, our
That's
ancestral
crazy.
roots. Like, yeah, bro, when you come to Dubai in November, ask Nana for the journal he has, and like he'll tell you like there's like a chart of everyone's birthdays, who we've come from, who his grandfather was,
Oh,
and like
dude, we got to get into a podcast about lineage and all that stuff because that stuff. Oh, I'm always interested in history and lineage and the connections throughout generations because I always feel like traits always skip a generation. I feel like sometimes grandchildren have a lot more in common than with their grandparents than they do with their parents, and it's really interesting to me because I think it's just so beautiful and cool.
yeah. So that's what I'm hoping with this series as well, like or just any video I make, is to leave some kind of thing behind, some kind of like I want to say legacy, but I feel like that's going to be hard to do. But I'm going to do it probably.
We'll do it.
Let's see.
We'll do it, man.
Yeah,
And hopefully people got something out of this from whatever this podcast is. I honestly that name is growing on me a little bit. Whatever this is, I kind of like it
yeah,
because it really is like that, right? It is whatever this is, whatever we feel like talking about, and I kind of like that. It keeps it open ended for just time pass.
yeah. And like Mr. B says, if you want to end the video, just end it. So peace.
All right, so send it.